What is up, YouTube? It is Onion Bomb here. Welcome back to another Honkai Impact reaction video. Today, we are back on the playlist that we are now in part 2 stuff for. We've been for the last two episodes of this. And, you know, we're slowly, but we're dwindling it down, definitely. We're at 183 out of 212, so, with some quicker ones on the horizon. I think I say this every time, but it's just crazy because I've definitely been on this for a few months, and for it to come to an end, it's like, whoa, like we're here, you know? I know, Lord, maybe not like that, but yeah, we got a Potato Almanac video. I think this is the first one in a little bit. It's mainly been Homu Labs for a little bit here, but this is a part 2, chapter 1 through 3 summary. Pretty good way to start the video, honestly.
It's been a while, about 6 years since this channel uploads. Since Earth defeated the Honkai, they worked to rebuild the devastation caused.
Is that why they not upload for a bit?
Many problems still needing to be figured out, like why the moon is turning red. While that's going on, the people of Earth now have the time to look outwards to the far expanses of the galaxy, as they didn't need to.
I think I was talking about the timeline. Never mind. Ignore me.
Some force of nature constantly trying to end their existence. That first place they looked to was Mars. But why Mars?
Cause why not?
Small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Now, I've looked through all the lines, and it was never brought up directly why they decided to go to Mars specifically. I'd imagine it's something to do with how they came into contact with other civilizations that used to exist on other planets in the solar system. So far, the life form they have met has been shown to look and act like humans, for the most part. Whether that's saying something about their origins in relation to Earth remains to be seen, cause if Stellaris has told me anything about Xenos, is that the ones that look different must be destroyed. But anyways, what these civilizations have in common with Earth is the collective suffering under the Honkai, which goes by different names depending on each local lingo. So Earth, or rather Shikso, decided to send 2 people to scout out the 4th planet, and lo and behold, they found traces of alien life out there. Sadly, they didn't seem to have survived the embrace. In the ruins, they found an alien terminal, and you know, as humans, we are naturally curious creatures, so it's our God-given right to poke at anything we don't understand with a stick. For our 2 scouts' case, this action will have many repercussions as told by May. Suddenly that day, Kiana at the moon base just went to sleep and never woke up. They didn't know what the hell was wrong with her, but during that time she fell asleep, their sensors picked up a signal from Mars. Everything was such a convenient coincidence, they decided to bring that terminal back to the moon base and study it in hopes of finding the reason why Kiana is in deep sleep. The hypothesis is that it has to do with the Honkai in Mars term, and this is where the story begins. You see, when the 2 scouts, Collery and Halia, touched it, they got sucked into what Prometheus described as a massive, Mars-sized quantum computer, which put those that went in through the scenarios the Mars civilization faced, and having them attempt to beat it, though the focus isn't really on them fully, as the system seemed to have a particular emphasis on the digital lifeform called the Dreamseeker, who is like a player character you used to be able to choose between the male and the female variant, but then the male one gets nuked in lore a few chapters in, and it's just gone forever. But anyway,
you know, I was wondering.
The moon was aware of what's happening and decided to just roll with it and see what happens. At this point, you may wonder, like, we are looking at an alien Elysian Realm-esque tech that pushed you through a trial. So then, what would hypothetically happen if the people that went in were to fail? Turns out, nothing for now, as the conversation suggested that they had Collery and Helia attempt to beat the scenarios and fail multiple times and got out just fine. So they just kept sending them in until something happens. I don't see how this could possibly go wrong in the slightest. The main strat was to focus on helping Dreamseeker do whatever she needed to do to beat a given scenario, which always seemed to be about the Shadow Calamity. The story then actually begins with the Dreamseeker, a student studying at Oxford University doing student things, studying, and falling asleep the moment they touch a bed. Randomly, while she was sleeping, she enters a dreamlike state where her body just disappears from the plane of existence. In the dream, she meets a goddess who introduces herself as Senadina. She starts off with a lecture about Mars, then proceeded to tell her about how she's the chosen one and suggests forming a covenant with her in order to save Mars or something, while saying the equivalent of "trust me, bro." The most surprising part, Dreamseeker just goes along with it for some reason. She also gets this thing called the Astro Ring for her troubles.
What the
Dreamseeker then wakes up, not in her room, but inside a rock with that goddess who doesn't seem to be the one who she just talked to. There they meet the aliens. Keep in mind it's very possible this was after many of their failed attempts at the scenario, but they wouldn't know that and would treat it as if they touched the terminal and got in here for the first time. After some talking, they learn that they are in a random corner in the Sea of Quanta, called the Sea of Data, simulated in this case. Also, there's this portal dog that harasses them periodically, so they go chase it around until Senna tries throwing her weapon at its portal, as it then explodes from the impact, separating the group. Dreamseeker then wakes up again in God knows where. She sees the dog just being mysterious. Some black mist along with the monsters it sometimes spawn. She's about to get jumped by them, but then suddenly a bystander came to her aid and beat up all the monsters and just disappears. She then reunites with Senna and together set out to find where the other two Earthlings went. Along the way, they get jumped again, and the girl who saved Dreamseeker earlier also appears. She didn't seem to have been the same one that saved Dreamseeker earlier, if it was even real to begin with. This iteration of our savior seemed to be quite friendlier and not the combat type, as she tells the duo to just After getting to a safe place and talking a bit, she introduces herself as Songxue and gave the name of this place, Langshu. And also, that dog's name was Duolingo. She decides to take them to the part that was the most livable around here while naming out everything they come across. This is the Shadows. It spawns monsters. This is the big ass nail. It keeps the shadows away. This is a fear gathering. You pay fear to get stuff from the shadows. Those who controls fear controls the shadows. These people are called shoes. At this point, it's no question that the shadows, as they call it, is just the Mars term for Honkai. For some reason, the Dreamseeker is quite good at this shadow stuff. It's almost like she had done this many times before. They eventually get to the only good part in town called Amber Street. There they reunites with the two Earthlings, and summarizing what we have been told so far, the group is currently in a Mars bubble universe made to escape the Great Depression. I mean, eruption that happened. In this case, the people could somehow live by integrating Honkai in their daily life, which is quite an achievement, albeit not in a long-term sense, as we would soon see. Right now, the Dreamseeker still wants to find her way back home. The Earthlings then just tag along to find a way to communicate with their mission control. Senna is just there for some good times, and Songxue will just help them get out of this place. They get to the place you could consider the gateway, where they see this thing, which the Dreamseeker recognized as the anchor of the apocalypse in her hometown. From what I'm getting, it's like the ether anchor of her bubble universe. The revelation is that Oxia, where she lives, used to be in the same world as Langshu. While that's going on, Senna tried touching the anchor, which seemed to have reacted as it transported everyone to Oxia except Collery, who was in the back for some reason. Now left behind, she is met by this floating gadget that calls itself Perception. You could think of it as the substitute for one of the shoes around here, 1/5 as it calls itself. It sold her the idea of enlisting the help of the shoes who owns it or something so she can get out of this place. Seeing no better option, she decides to roll with it. Apparently the shoes seem to have fell asleep over the years and needed some procedures to wake up properly. Meanwhile at Oxia, it seems there was more than the group that got through the gate. They could somehow still communicate thanks to the floating gadget they found. Basically, it shouldn't be this easy to do that, and there's a high chance it's the shadows. Then nothing much really happens as it's mostly lore dumping. The story goes that when the Great Eruption hits and everything is getting eaten by the Sea of Quanta,
Man, that was like stuck.
those who controls the shadows, the shoes, split Langshu and Oxia and made them into their own bubble universe. Langshu was the containment for the shadows, while Oxia gets to be free of it. To keep the shadows here in Langshu, they nail the thing down by infusing their powers into these nails to prevent the shadows from destroying Langshu. The catch is, the shoes will hibernate as time goes on. Now to wake them up, you just yank out those nails that's keeping the shadows away. What could possibly go wrong? Meanwhile, Dark Lord and the gadget pulled out the nail belonging to a shoe named Latost, which causes the dog to return to Langshu as it has a special connection to him. During this window, Corey was able to get to Oxia and reunites with the rest. The plan is simple: get that dog. Getting back to Langshu, the group sees that the place looked a bit worse than they have left it. You see, Latost and this dog has a bit of history. Latost, back in the day of the Great Eruption, actually made this Sea of Shadows with these nails that kept it pinned down to keep the world as is. Now, his dog is going around removing the nails and seems to be trying to take control of this pool of shadows for itself as a shadow entity. So the group thinks that in order to catch it, they need to jump into the Sea of Shadows. This wasn't actually the road to the boss fight, as it's a lore dump segment, but after a while, Songxue realizes they made a horrible mistake and tells the group to evacuate and get to this particular nail. There, they found a dog and they go beat it up.
What the dog doing?
Shift into
Once they beat it, they decided to enslave it for the funnies. And now
What?
they are left to fix the mess this thing caused. And because of how things have progressed, they still would need to wake up all the shoes to fix the mess anyway. So I guess we're back to pulling nails.
Well, that was chapter. That was
The next
chapter
shoe they are
2.
going to attempt to
That
wake
was-
up
that was
is
chapter- this is
Sarah.
chapter 2.
Apparently, she applies her shadow powers by making a hive mind where all is well, and anyone who union with her becomes one with her. The gang get to the place where she resides, the library, and before they go in, they set up a TP beacon just in case, while also leaving the dog outside as a sentry to repent for its sin. Moving on, the group then do some puzzles and hear some words from Sarah for some reason. Songxue reassures them to not worry about it. It's not like half of them are going to get sucked into the hive mind and be out of action for a while. Also, there's this shoe hunting them down, and unfortunately, this one is kind of a muscle brain that cannot be reasoned with. So they hightail it out of there and lay low for the time being. Well, this is their next move. By that I mean lore dumps. They came up with a plan. They will go into the hive mind and convince the ones in there to leave. Luckily, Lantern wasn't posted up waiting for them.
We'll be right back.
Though with their immense dodging skills, they escaped into Sarah's consciousness, where they found the Earthlings seem to have been enjoying themselves. And then there's Senna, who seems to be fine but cannot find her way out. Somehow she says, "Trust me, bro," and we don't get to see what actually happens after that, but everyone leaves Sarah's consciousness and go fight Lantern in the real world. Fortunately, Sarah also wakes and broke up the fight. And for the shoe of Muscle Brain, she shows restraint and leaves them alone for now. At this point, the group considers that to fix the mess, they are going to need to wake every single shoe to do what they did back then when they made the world. And there's like a few potential targets they can go for. It could be Songxue's master, who's the big dog of the shoes, but then it's like a bit hard to wake him up until the rest has been awakened, so they settled for someone easier. Philema. The group knows about this shoe and is confident they're going to wake her up without any issues. Same plan. Now that they're in the place, the TP beacon doesn't work because according to Perception, who made it, it's a free version, so it's naturally shite. The same thing happens as a few minutes after they enter the place, Lantern is now knocking at the doors again. For some reason, Perception is able to leave and meet her head on because she's just built different, I guess, but we'll get to that later. Back in the floating castle, the group gets a history lesson on Philema as they advance. They get to a boss arena looking area as Lantern catches up, and she spouts something about her investigation, pointing to Songxue being the one behind it all. Seeing no better option, they fight out their disagreement. But alas, nothing ever happens, as Philema appears to break up the fight. And this being the only situation in which Lantern actually listens, she leaves the group alone. Also, it turns out Philema was awake the whole time and all that history lesson was just propaganda to improve her image among the group. The group is off to the next target, the creator of Perception, Agita. They got to the CF data for some reason and they found Agita, who's not breathing and has been that way for quite some time. Perception is also there, just chilling after leading Lantern to this place. Dreamseekers then starts feeling funny again and then they leave the place in a hurry. Notice the haze on the sides. This will be very important later. Right now, things are not looking good. These big ball of shadows in the sky are going to kill them all, which isn't the surprising part really, because what they've been doing is just making it go faster anyway. At least if they wake all the shoes up, they could probably have them fix the mess before it gets any crazier. The group decides to retreat back to Oxia for now, but Lantern follows them there. Fortunately, she fell for a ruse. This gives the group a head start to prepare for the battle. The battle plan was to abuse the shoes' territories and the powers there to even the odds out. They go to Sarah's library, but she isn't there for some reason, which defeats the whole point, so they head to Felema's place instead. Not only did they not find Felema, they walked straight into a trap set by Lantern. But once again, nothing ever happens as Songxia's master, Baiji, shows up to break up the fight. Also, the arena they're fighting in isn't
You're not trying to see Lantern fight, people keep breaking it up.
out of his power. He then say, "Trust me, bruv," and sends the group minus Songxia back to Oxia.
Chapter 3.
The rest of the gang is quite mad. They send them back without being able to say bye to Songxue and decides to hightail it back to Langshu. There they reunites with her, who reassures them everything is going to be fine. With their flags bearing left and right, the 7 shoes prepare to solve the crisis in Langshu. Senna seems to not be feeling well and passes out. The Earthling notices signs of Honkai infection on her and decides to get her to Songxia's master, who diagnoses her with Astral Ring overexertion and cures her just as easily. Everything is fine for now as they go to the anchor to perform the ritual. Songxue changes into her new shiny outfit for the occasion and says farewell to the group, and they headed their separate ways. The group could tell she's hiding something but respects her decisions and leaves. Meanwhile, Lantern and Duolingo was killing time by investigating Ashita's death. But then Lantern's hunch tells her that Perception is kinda sus, so they go meet with it. Somehow this led to her going around killing all the shoes for some reason. On their way back to Oxia, the group is intercepted by Perception, who tells them that they are being lied to and shows them a few pictures. According to her, Baiji was lying to them. Most of the shoes are now dead and Songxue is probably next. Upon being dropped this bomb, they rush back to save their friends, thinking Baiji was the bad guy. It also doesn't help that he always talks in abstract riddles, so it's easy to make himself look mega sus. And according to him, killing Songxue would end the shadows, but the rest of the shoes wasn't his doing. Perception seizes the opportunity and stabs Baiji, ending him. Up to this point, people has been treating Perception like a sentient tool of the shoe who created it and like a substitute. But now, it reveals its true color. It's not a shoe, it's the shadows itself, like a Herrscher. It also was the one who killed the rest of the shoes, by the way, so I'm not sure what that Lantern moment was about. If you know, please tell me. Now that the big dog of the shoe is dead, that floating shadow boy in the sky reaches its zenith and everyone fucking dies. Nothing ever happens, as what we have just witnessed starting from when this thin haze appears was a dream in Dreamseeker's head. Baiji actually leveraged his power to have Dreamseeker simulate the conclusion, and now that Perception out itself as the big bad, they go capture it. You might have some question about how this Wheel of Shadow was able to sit around and be Ashita's substitute for so long. Well, unbeknownst to the group, it made a deal with Ashita, or more like Ashita used it, cause she seemed to be somehow aware of the true nature of this world. Back in the day, Baiji tried to contain the shadows in the Astral Ring that Ashita seemed to have brought in from the outside. And if you know anything about what happens when you put a lot of Honkai energy in a single place, a Herrscher can be created. When Dreamseeker told Baiji about what she saw, she hid the fact that he did try to take out Songxue in order to stop the shadows, but later brought it up with the rest of the gang anyway. So by taking Perception out of the process, it means that everything could still be on track to happen the same way, except this time there wouldn't be no Perception to derail the process. The gang then sends Dreamseeker to keep Songxue company and have her attempt to talk her out of it. The next scene was actually beautiful, but the Dreamseeker ultimately fails. The group then fell for Songxia's ruse, as she's now at the place already. Fortunately, Baiji could not bring himself to end Songxue. He instead tells her about one last crazy plan. They're going to gather all the shadows and attempt to reshape Perception into a good god.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
After some prep talk, all of them gathered at the place to start the god-shaping ritual. And for some reason, this thing looks like Songxue. While they wait for the process to complete, they get to a safe spot and discuss their tactics. The dog elects to stay behind for some reason. Perception awakes in the new body. She then meets Duolingo and attempts to sweet talk it into giving up some info on the heroes. This didn't work as she quickly drops the act. The dog plays it cool and feigns defecting, allowing Perception to walk a few meters before it jumps her, but really it was quite futile. As for the rest, their battle plan was just to pull off the same thing they did back in the day, attempting to take control of the shadows, which you would think would risk them empowering the Herrscher like it did the first time, like they created it that time. But you see, this time, the target is actually a tangible thing you can touch, so in theory they think they can just beat it up and weaken it enough to just increase the chance of success. They just need to stall long enough for that to happen. Unfortunately, not all the shoes could participate as they are spent from that maneuver they pulled earlier. This is where the aliens come in. Heading to the battle, the gang came across what's left of the dog, but it wasn't actually all in vain, as the dog's power and somehow Latos from the dead left a convenient path for the group to go straight to the boss. They stalled long enough for time, but even then it wasn't enough to beat Perception. At this pivotal moment, Songxue went to the backup plan, the self-destruct plan that would take her with it. At least that's what people thought. It's been a few days since Songxue went missing, and everyone assumes the worst. Everything is good, the shadows has been banished, both worlds can freely travel as they work to rebuild. The gang go to visit the arena where they fought in hopes of finding a miracle, and a miracle they get. After all, as Collery points out, it's not exactly news that a Herrscher can come back from the dead. Seeley did it once, and also this man, twice. It's time to turn her funeral into a party. Hopefully you haven't forgotten all of this was just a simulation. The Dreamseeker has failed this countless times before winning this one time. What she would do next now that she just realized she's been in the samsara, that's a story for another time. This reveal was a gut punch, like we have spent so much time with them, like hours of playtime, only for the story to say, well actually none of that was real to begin with, nor really matters at all. I was pissed. Which, looking back at it, kind of lines up with how the Dreamseeker herself reacted to the reveal, and I guess it's the dev's way of putting us in her shoes. But I digress. Channel update. I said this video was supposed to come out many months earlier, but all my free time disappeared when all the thesis revisions came through. Frankly,
wait, so that what is going on? So that wasn't real?
I underestimated the subject, and now that I've finished, I will try my best to get back to speed and start posting again. So thank you for your patience of sticking around and having patience with me. And remember, nothing ever happens until it does.
Nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens, and then it's not even real. But that was a great summary of kind of like the first 3 chapters, because yeah, even after all the ones that the videos of part 2 I watched, I there's still kind of like the exact story of what was happening. I didn't really gather some of that till now. So that was a good watch. It is crazy after all that. It was like just like a simulation thing. I'm not really sure what's going on with that, with the dream catcher thing, or I'm not sure, but that is very, very interesting. W video from Potato Almanac. I said Dreamcatcher, I meant Dream Seeker. So we end. Speaking of that, we have Dreamseeker True Form Layla, Japanese dub.
へえ、捨てられたおもちゃを倒したからといって桜花の危機を解決できたと思っているの？かわいいね。何をするつもり？僕のしたいことは今まで誰も止められなかった。今回もね。桜花だけじゃない。 僕が壊そうとしているのは世界だ。
Dang.
遺言の準備はできた？怖がらないで。痛くないようにするから。リタ、やめなさい。
I was gonna say that's Vita, right? Not bad.
やっと現れたんだ。
Dang.
あれは私？
What? So what was that? That was the Dreamseeker's true form? Interesting. That was a... That was crazy. The next Star Voyager Vita's S-rank battlesuit Lone Planet Farmer trailer. How I know Vita was like teased at the end of that one thing, but how did I'm interested to hear more about that. What happened that Vita is like around now and what's going on with the with Dreamseeker's true form. I'm confused about that, but let's just keep watching for now. There's an official upload, by the way.
無数の文明の光を目にした。その一部は時間とともに枯れ塵となった。さらに一部は僕の手で消した。何事にも終わりがあるなら君たちはなぜ霊媒になれるんだい？僕にはわかる。異なる名と姿を持つ君たちがたどり着くのは同じ結末だと。それなら僕が少しだけサポートをしてあげようか。そうしたらこの不公平なゲームに転機があるかもしれない。だって僕は君たちのことを愛しているから。
She's the one with the mech. I remember seeing that.
無限の可能性を持っている。
Going full on Gundam.
可能性の枝が壁を突き、退屈なルールを全て破るんだ。これほど素敵な物語だからね。僕はきっと続けさせてみせるよ。また会ったね。永遠に呪われし人。
Slayers. Okay. So Layla, that is the name of the Dreamseeker's true form, maybe the Dreamseeker's true name. So there's something with that. Though, how is the dreams like? Is that I don't know. There's something that I still need to learn. I think with that but that's interesting development. The Dreamseeker is like a different person. Like, I'm assuming maybe they thought of that after. Maybe I don't know. Maybe not, because I don't know. They like it was mentioned even today, like how like you could originally like change it from male to female, but like I guess the male version kind of just got like Thanos snapped out. I don't know if that maybe they I don't know if you can still change it or not. I haven't checked the comments on the last video yet. I'm sorry. So if that was answered last time, I didn't peep that yet. So that's why I'm answering. That's why I'm asking the same question if it got answered. But I'll see it after I upload this one. But yeah, it is interesting. This next one is one I remember. I saw it. I thought it was packed with content behind the scenes of Honkaiimpact 3rd X Honkai Star Rail collab reveal. I remember this. This was at the end of like the very, very first playlist I did. It was like the Honkaiimpact 3rd X Star Rail collab. This was only uploaded like a year ago at this point, and I think it was like very, very recent when I checked it out the first time around. So I'm gonna try. I don't think this is like the craziest lore thing. I am gonna watch it again because it's been a while. And now I know a little bit more about Star Rail than I did, but I knew like nothing about Star Rail. But so now that I know more about Star Rail, more about Impact 3rd, now this is gonna be like hit a little bit harder for me, I think. So this will be good. So yeah, I'm gonna give this a rewatch here.
我也没想到会这么突然，但瓦尔特，我们找到了地球，你可以回家了。
这是什么？联动方案，崩坏3和星穹铁道。虽说这次联动只是一次尝试，但我还是准备了好几个方案。创意是主观的，也想听听你的看法。
你展开讲讲。
第一个方案围绕瓦尔特展开，他是连接两边的重要角色，来当联动主角，合情合理。我们想通过杨叔探讨一个经久不衰的主题——回家。
我也没想到会这么突然，但瓦尔特，你可以回家了。还有，丹恒找到了当时跟你一起上车的那人，只是他已经死了。
老伙计，要不是你这红钢身体还有用，我真想把你丢太空里。
What? How is he eating Otto's fingers and using them as a slant and an axe? What? Void Honkai. The road home.
怎么样？
我们可以说是花火给了一个错误的坐标，把瓦尔特困在雪原里面，这一切都是假的。
这跟花火有什么关系？
我是想，那如果我们把瓦尔特回家的这段戏给拍了，那以后铁道的主线不就永远缺失了这一段吗？要不你再讲讲其他方案？
没事，我还有第二个方案。 这 Plan B 情节更番外，冲突更直接，观感更刺激，侧重于两部作品碰撞出的化学反应。
这听起来不错呀。
我们打算让两边的主角团打起来。
星穹列车对战圣弗雷亚，100头殊死搏斗，究竟谁能站在崩坏之巅？下面有请选手依序入场。全雷打太弱了。 不拼上性命，怎么叫做棒球？握紧手中的球棒，皮亚娜对阵
vs Trailblazer。
世界之名，什么迷你世界之名？
Bronia vs Wilt。
对决 ，Bronia 对阵瓦尔特。
Himiko versus Himiko versus Himiko。
妻子 强韧无敌，最强。红色电剑龙能灭小青龙，谁才是最强之龙？
Me
牙
versus
对阵
Dong
丹恒，
Hong
以及最后激动人心的大将战。
我打浮华，真的假的？
怎么样？
March 7th versus
3.7打浮华，
嘿，难以置信就对了，我都不知道怎么排。
要不吃饱了的3.7打没吃饭的浮华，
感觉还差点
那吃饱了的3.7打没吃饭只用单手的浮华
啊。
要不吃饱了，然后睡了个好觉的3.7打10天没吃没睡花火变的浮华。
不是打成斗兽了，花火又是哪来的？
哎呀，我不能说服自己嘛。你还有其他方案吗？
没想到阿基老师如此注重逻辑，没关系。下一个方案，这个方案完全按照真实社会事件改编，聚焦当下年轻人最关注、最热议的话题。
那是什么呀？
职场魔幻现实。
告诉大家一个坏消息，下半年我们13事业部的绩效会和猎手顾问部一起回顾。对于业绩更差的部门，公司会采取末位淘汰。
末位淘汰，一定要这样吗？
苦了你，刚进来就遇上这种事。找我想要什么？这公司孽障深重，迟早完蛋。你需要武器，给你。
也许你知道，还存在另一个办法。我们心有灵犀呢。其实大家不必面对这样艰难的抉择呀。
这场裁员背后另有隐情，拜托了。
哎，别催了，别催了，我挂高头先。真希望这一刻可以永远停留下去啊！我想我也会做出和你一样的决定，加油！末位淘汰不会发生。
给我揪出幕后黑手，加倍奉还。
哪有什么剧目是永不散场的？我愿意离开。10月31日，
各位
新的会议邀请。
嘿，怎么样？双线叙事齐头并进，每个人都是主角。
电厂又爆了，我还没保存啊！
I remember that from the first one. I remember the guy not saving his work.
不是，怎么又花火啊？
我提花火主要是因为，虽然穿着制服的英杰和星河猎手给人感觉吸引力很大，但是整个故事感觉有点压抑过了，缺少了一点欢愉。
你说日子本来就苦，大家不爱看沉重的是吧？要不这样，第4个剧本我保证足够欢乐。
展开讲讲。
听好了，
在平平安安，不对，在平平安安、美美丽丽的天命总部，一个再平常不过的早晨，突然出现了一具尸体。众人上前去定睛一看，哦哟，死的竟是奥托·阿波卡蒂斯。什么玩意儿？我死了！从此天下大乱。为查明真相，一个个神探那是轮番登场，用尽浑身解数。且看詹天神探黑鹤遍览星象，八字神探松雀手眼通天，绣花神探迷迭香悄无声息出现在每一个案发现场，通灵神探喜儿复活死者，直接拷问答案，还有百货神探罗刹。可不得了，此人面容竟和死者一模一样。得，双胞胎诡计是吧？就在所有神探一筹莫展之际，一把轮椅被缓缓推出，坐在椅上抬起头，缓缓开口的竟是安乐椅神探米莎。
哎，死人了，说好的欢乐向南，
这叫黑色幽默。
哎，要我说，你设置的这些侦探也太意料之中了，不如我们加一个，
不能有花火，凶手会易容，这案子没法玩了。
啊，好，你说的也行。但是
Try
我
to have
们
sport going.
对吧？这么久都没有联动了，我还想听你最后那个方案。做一些我之前没做过的。
这你就说到点子上了。这最后一个方案，其实我心里也没底，团队真没做。
啥玩意儿？
罪案故事片。
Crime and
死
truth.
者背后多处中弹，应该是自杀。
这俩人也没救了。
围绕沧海市发生的连环犯罪事件，罪案局迟迟没有进展。
侦查行动暴露了，我怀疑我们局里有内鬼。
收手吧，阿史，外面都是保安。我们来玩个游戏吧。
Oh my.
活了。好，告诉老玄，我想摸鱼了。
这里是
怎么样？最后一幕决战就在这儿拍。
Yo.
我去，我仔细盘过了，爆破、枪战、追车戏、械斗，哪个都是巨大的挑战。但就像你说的，多久才有一次联动啊？压上一切就它了，我现在就去头部项目，我明天就开工。哎，又跳闸了。
你都看到了，我已经努力过了，他根本听不进去。现在方案交上去了，你想改也来不及了。我真的想尽力帮你。
想改也来不及了。哼，我自有办法。
Going back to 2018. Oh, the final lesson deadline.
我的天，写完了，赶紧发给大卫，这版一定能行。
Oh. Is it Sparkle's debuting them? Sparkle, man. that was a funny one. So that was like a skit of them like trying to like figure out what to do with the collab per se. Yeah, I enjoyed watching that again. Especially now that like I know some characters in like Star Wars. Like I know March 7th and I think the Trailblazer is like the main character, similar to what the Dreamseeker was, or is maybe, I don't know, but yeah, nice video, nice rewatch there. Now we have Coralie versus Sauvray, something like that. They were cutscene. Pigeon!
今、本気を出すよ。
Oh, she's getting serious. Oh, Lantern! Is that like her real name or something? Oh. Ooh.
まだ続ける？
Man, she would have
これ以上やる
shattered
必要
her
はな
head.
い。あなたも誰かと命を懸けるために来たんじゃないよね。
確かに。まあいい。私の負けだ。
賢い選択だよ。
I forgot she had a tail. Dude, I keep forgetting she has a tail. Durando versus Latost. Latos. I forget. It's been said 1,000 times. Another cutscene. Ooh. Is this gonna be young Durandal or normal Durandal? Oh, it's a younger Durandal. I wasn't sure if that was a... Ooh. I wasn't sure if that was actually a storyline thing or just for like a cosmetic, you know, gotcha thing.
行こう、コラリー。その言葉を待って。ヘリア。
Ooh. What? No. This has to be Cap.
これで終わりかだね。
No.
外で会おう。バカ。でも今の痛かったよ。
What? What?
やっぱり一歩遅かったみたい。
A hair too late. Maybe a little more than that. Bruh, I swear there's more stuff about her. I don't know. I hope what Rip Dreamseeker princess carrying Durandal. So this is some in-game, you know, clips and cutscenes and stuff.
絶対絶命の状況でも顔色一つ変えずに眠れるなんて。さすが最強のバルキリーだね。
Ooh, the slide. Maybe this is all like her imagination too. It's all in her head and Coralie is still alive and well.
What do you mean Selema isn't real? What do you mean she's just an NPC in some simulation generated by a quantum computer? You can be serious. No.
Me? Okay. So now this is a Homo Labs video. Alright, Mars' biggest mystery explained. We had some rapid fire cutscenes there for a bit. Pretty interesting stuff. I don't know what happened with Coralie there. Yeah, she looked pretty. You know, she got kind of like Thanos snap deleted. I don't know. I thought there was that one battle suit thing that was like her kind of like a dragon thing. I don't know if that was a cosmetic thing or that was her actual death in the story. But yeah, if that is Rip, that is crazy. But yeah, let's see. Wow, this video was uploaded a year ago exactly today. Upon me recording this is November 20th. 2025. This was uploaded November 20th, 2024. That is crazy. But this is gonna be the final episode final video we watched today in this one. It's 17 minutes. But we're really coming down to it. Like we only have like 20 videos left. And there's some shorter ones like that. Some down here, some of the ones I've already seen. That's only 21 seconds. That's the whole video. And this still some longer ones. You know, next after this one is 20. So you know, I keep saying like you know it balances itself out, but it's crazy. Alright, but let's get to it.
No, I refuse to believe that. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that the reason why I'm making this video is pure cope. Selema is real, and I refuse to believe otherwise. Of course, she's not real, she's a video game character. But you get what I mean. I refuse to accept that she is just an NPC in the story of the game, even if I have to do some crazy mental gymnastics to gaslight myself. On a more serious note, I wanted to make this video to explain what we know about the mysteries on Mars, especially the Martian quantum computer, and to share some of my thoughts and theories about the future plot development. So, fair warning, this video will contain spoilers up to the most recent chapter released on Global. The way Hoyoverse presented the story of part 2 was very interesting because up until chapter 3 we thought that we were heading in one direction, and then chapter 3X came along and shattered pretty much everything we thought we knew about the story. In a good way, I'd say. But even with the shocking revelation that Mars is actually a giant quantum computer, there are still many mysteries left for us to explore. I feel like the revelation about Mars's true nature raised more questions than it provided answers. And while the concept is easy to grasp on the surface, it's a simulated world, right? Much like Elysian Realm. The Mars quantum computer is far more complex.
So it's a sim, okay.
This is a sentiment I've seen echoed across social media. People understand the basics, but when it comes to digging deeper, beyond surface level interpretations, things get a lot blurrier, leading to confusion. That's why today I'm going to do my best to explain everything we know. But be warned, it's not much. There are still way more questions than answers at this point. Not gonna lie, this reminds me of the early chapters of part 1 when we didn't know what was going on and we theorized a lot. And speaking of the thrill of experiencing a new game for the first time, this is your chance to do the same with Raid Shadow Legends. I know, it's probably a game you have heard of 1 million times by now, but have you actually given it a try? There's a surprising amount of depth and strategy involved.
Hey, this is a legitimate sponsor. Okay. Homu Labs getting the sponsorship out there.
Moment to dive in, especially with the perks available to new players, like 3 powerful champions to kickstart your journey. Trust me when I say it, these champions will make your early battles way easier. Whether you're exploring the game's rich storyline, testing your might in PvP, or chilling out with some dungeon crawling, there's always something to do. I personally enjoy taking on waves of enemies and that satisfying moment when you defeat a tough boss. And hey, if you get stuck, just focus on completing quests and challenges to level up and power through. Now, here's the exciting part. If you scan the QR code on the screen or click my link in the description, you will immediately get a huge starter pack.
I don't want to block the QR code.
Hugo, considered one of the most valuable
in case anyone wants
to
to use
Plus,
that.
If you use the promo code Monkey King, you'll receive Sun Wukong, a legendary champion who can steal buffs from
this is a year old. I don't even know if this is gonna thing.
Who wouldn't want this kind of powerhouse on their team? By using my link below or scanning the...
By the way, I recently made my webcam a little bit bigger. I don't know if I wasn't gonna say anything because in case I wasn't gonna say anything at first. I was gonna say anything at the end, but I kind of exposed it. But that was the old size. I made myself a little bit better for like other reactions. It might help, but yeah. But yeah, if you did notice something different, that was it. Just a little bit bigger.
Unlocks Epic Fane, an epic champion who many consider even better than some legendary champions. Raid Shadow Legends is available on mobile, PC and Mac, and if you're interested, feel free to join my clan once you're in. Just hit the link below or scan the QR code on the screen to get started. Thank you Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. First, let me clarify something. The Mars we've seen all this time is a simulated world based on the history of the real Mars inside a quantum computer. I noticed some people were confused about this, but the real Mars still exists. in the actual planet Mars. It's just desolated. The Martian civilization was wiped out and the only thing left of it is a giant supercomputer. Hilya and Coralie actually traveled to the real Mars. There, they found the Dreamseeker terminal, accessed it, and met Dreamseeker for the first time. After that, they brought the terminal back to the moon and continued logging in to help Dreamseeker through the countless samsaras. The samsara we witnessed in chapters 1 to 3 was the last one and the first time they actually defeated the Wheel of Shadows in Langcho. Coincidentally, it's also the only samsara where Senadina was present. And before you ask, remember that every time they failed the loop, Einstein erased Hilya and Coralie's memories of it. That's why they had no information about what was happening, like perception being the Wheel of Shadows or the Seven Shoes. Their memories were literally wiped because it would interfere with Dreamseeker. Vita clearly states that the system was created for Dreamseeker to clear it, so the others are there to help Entropy, not to do the job for them. Another point of confusion is the difference between the Mars quantum computer and the Dreamseeker terminal. What Hilya and Coralie brought back to the moon is not the actual Martian quantum computer. What they brought back is the Dreamseeker terminal, which can access the computer and contains, well, the Dreamseeker. So no, they didn't bring back an actual quantum computer. There are likely more terminals around that can access Mars. In chapter 5, we even see that Tesla and Prometheus were able to replicate the technology and create a terminal on Earth. That's how Durandal entered the system. She's not on the moon with the rest of them. Now, what's the purpose of the Dreamseeker terminal? Well, we don't really know. What we do know is that it was created by the real Ajita, not the one in the simulation, and it was meant to be a terminal for someone, most likely Layla, to access the quantum computer. Dreamseeker looks like Layla because they were designed to be her avatar in the simulated Mars. In a note left by Ajita, we also learned that Layla requested a male avatar, which later became P2, also known as Honkaiimpact III. And while we joke around with John Honkai, let me be clear, Dreamseeker is a data life form. They don't have a gender. They appear however the person programming them wants to. The reason why they look like this is purely because they were meant to be Layla's avatar. So while the fandom treats Entropy and Honkai as different people, they are not. They are literally the same entity with different skins. If Ajita wanted the Dreamseeker to look like a homo doll, that's exactly how they would have appeared, and it would have been awesome. While we initially learned that the system's purpose was for Layla to access the quantum computer, it seems like this has changed somehow. In chapter 5, Vita states that the current objective of the Dreamseeker terminal is for Entropy to clear various stages based on Mars's real historical events to trace the Curse of Shadows back to its source. That's why we went from Langcha to Langcho 100 years ago. And this is just my theory, with each new quote-unquote level, we will continue traveling back in time until we find the true source. Why does Layla want Dreamseeker to do all of this? It's still a mystery. But based on what we know, it might be related to finding the real Senadina. Remember that Goddess Senadina said in chapter 1 that her and Dreamseeker's times are not synchronized, meaning that she could be somewhere in the past. Also, it is fascinating that at some point, Dreamseeker seems to have developed their own consciousness. Remember, they were initially created to be an avatar for Layla, but now they appear to be functioning autonomously. Vita even mentions that she and
Okay, so that was like, that wasn't just like a potential retcon thing. That was just, that's actually like storyline. Like it wasn't like your person. It was Layla. So Layla was. And it was originally like just like a insert thing, but like not for the player, but for Layla almost. And it's getting a little confusing at a typical Honkai deep lore, but I think I'm following a little bit. So Dreamseeker became more character like. Not like because at first it was seeming like it was like their decision like after a little bit to like make the Dreamseeker character, but now it's seeming like it like that actually has like some story element to it.
Are alike, both serving as proxies for higher beings while awakening their own consciousness. And if we're here, let's correct another common misconception. Dreamseeker is not Layla. As I said earlier, she's more like Layla's proxy, but they are fundamentally different entities. So if you don't consider Vita to be Sa, then you shouldn't consider Dreamseeker to be Layla either. Although we did see in chapter 3, X and 4 that their consciousnesses are somehow intertwined. This leads me to another intriguing theory. Remember in chapter 3 X when Dreamseeker and Vita entered the system and Dreamseeker had these visions about her and Senadina that supposedly never happened? Well, I think those aren't the Dreamseeker and Senadina we know, but rather Layla's memories with the real Senadina from before Mars's destruction. Now that we talk about the Dreamseeker terminal, let's also address the whole quantum computer thing, and to be honest, there's not much to address since we know very little about it, but we can draw some interesting parallels between the Martian quantum computer, Project Stigma, and the Sol system from Venus. Essentially, this computer is likely Mars's final attempt to preserve their civilization while facing the cocoon of finality. It's quite similar with Venus's Sol system, where the people on Venus created a simulated world that contained backup copies of the real inhabitants of Venus. Mara, the person theorized to be behind the Sky People, is one such person. And remember what happened with the Sol system? Sa stated that in the end the Honkai/Abyss found a way to infiltrate it. This raises the following question. Could the Curse of Shadows be the cocoon's method of infiltrating the quantum computer? However, that theory seems shaky since the Martian quantum computer is meant to simulate Mars's actual history, rather than provide a place for the Martians to quote-unquote live like on Venus. At this point, we still have too little information to say for sure, but what is certain is that the Curse of Shadows is somehow linked to the Cocoon of Finality. Otherwise, Kiana wouldn't have fallen asleep because of it, or at least that's what the people from Earth believe. So because of this, each party has its own goals in clearing the samsaras created by the system and uncovering the secret behind the Curse of Shadows. Dreamseeker wants to discover the truth about her identity and find Senadina. The Earth team wants to help Kiana wake up, and Vita, God knows what she wants. We know that she has some beef with Layla, but beyond that her goals are still a mystery. That's why it's difficult for the people from Earth to trust her, because she just appeared one day, already knowing about the system and how to operate it. She's hella sus, but the cast has no choice but to keep her around, since she's the only one who actually knows how to operate the Dreamseeker terminal. Then there's Layla, who wants Dreamseeker to clear more stages and uncover the truth behind the Curse of Shadows because we don't know. But Dreamseeker suspects that she's searching for someone, most likely Goddess Senadina.
Is this real?
This leads me to my next point, which is a heavily debated topic in the community. Are the characters and stories we experience in the system real? Why should we care about these characters if everything is happening inside the simulation and each time we enter we essentially start from zero, with the characters not even remembering us? First of all, the events in the system are meant to simulate real historical events from Mars, so at least from a historical perspective, they are real. Of course, the main cast is added in. For example, in the previous Samsara, Dreamseeker was inserted as a student in OSHA so that the system could justify their existence. However, this seems to only apply to Dreamseeker. Anyone else who enters the system, like Vita, Teresa, Hylia and Coralie, is just there without being fully integrated into the world. And yes, just like Dreamseeker, the rest of Mars's cast are digital lifeforms. But unlike Dreamseeker, they are not aware of it. So, does this mean that the stories we experience are less meaningful because of it? I think it comes down to personal preference. Did you find the stories in Elysian Realm meaningless because the Flame Chasers were just simulations? If yes, then perhaps these stories might feel meaningless to you as well. But if you enjoyed Elysian Realm and you were moved by it, I think you can also find value here. One of the key themes in ER was precisely this. Remember how Alicia was insecure about not being a real person? She kept questioning if there was any reason for May to interact with them, since once May left Elysian Realm it was like they never existed, at least in Alicia's mind. But May responded by saying that as long as her interactions in Elysian Realm moved her or left a mark in her heart, the experience was just as meaningful as anything in the real world. And we know that this is true because she never fucking shuts up about Elysian Realm. And as players, I think it's about how we resonate with the story. Did Songche's story in chapters 1 to 3 move you in any way? Did you experience a roller coaster of emotions? Well, if yes, why does it matter if the story takes place in a simulation? Those feelings were still real for you. And for those who argue that it's pointless to care or learn about the lore because each new quote-unquote level resets everything, that's simply not true. The current Samsara in chapter 5 still takes place in Langcha, but 100 years in the past. That is why the characters don't recognize us. However, the story and information we gained in chapters 1 to 3 still holds relevance. It is the same timeline, we just now experiencing the events we learned about in the previous arc firsthand. The characters' backstories remained consistent. This isn't a different Selema, Songche or Baiji. They are the same individuals, but now we're seeing their past. While chapter 4 indeed felt different because the characters seemed to live separate lives, remember Vita's explanation in chapter 5. The Samsara in chapter 4 was constructed from junk data that was never the intended destination. Vita deliberately chose to go there to bait Layla out. So it's not like each time we enter the system we encounter different characters. These experiences are built up upon the previous ones. For instance, learning Baiji's backstory in chapter 5 shed light on why he was so determined to save Songche 100 years later and why he was so obsessed with finding immortality. And there's even more, but I can't really talk about that without entering into chapter 6 spoilers territory, so I'll leave it for another video.
Future the past.
Now, allow me to delve into some theories about where the future of the story might take us. What is a Dreamseeker? Well, if you recall the text from Vincent in chapter 1, we learned that in the Elysium of old, Dreamseekers were individuals with the ability to travel back in time to experience the entire history of the world. This concept or idea of Dreamseeker seems to be what the Dreamseeker system in the game is based on, as our goal is to traverse each samsara and witness Mars's history until we find the source of the Shadow Calamity. In the same text, we learn about a Dreamseeker who glimpsed at a script that cannot be remembered within a dream. He spent his remaining years traveling through countless moments in time, trying to find it again but never succeeding. During his final moments, he discovered, through a shared vision with other departed souls, that the script was a unique imprint within the vast expanse of space-time. These countless unique scripts amounted to trillions upon trillions, forming a giant entity in the crevice of space-time, the spiritual progenitor of humanity. Does that sound familiar? Yes, Adam Rouhani from part 1's finale. For the next part, I want to give a big shout out to Marty for making an insightful post on Twitter. I'll provide a simplified version here, but please check out Marty's post, link in the description. Much of the inspiration for part 1's ending and part 2 comes from a book called Dictionary of the Khazars. This book explores themes similar to dream seeking and Adam Rouhani. It's even directly referenced by Aichan in the game. The book tells the story of the Khazar Khagnate, a mysterious civilization that vanished from history, much like the people of Mars. Through fragmented entries, the novel reveals a mystical quest, competing interpretations, and an enigmatic Khazar polemic that challenges historical truth. What's fascinating is that the book doesn't follow a linear narrative. It jumps between different moments in time. So because of that, I suspect that the events in part 2 will do something similar, where we'll explore various points in Mars's history in a non-linear fashion to uncover the truth behind the Martians' people's demise. There are a lot more references and connections here between the book and the game, but again, check out Marty's post for a deeper dive. Don't forget to use my Raid Shadow Legends link in the description or scan my QR code to get insane bonuses for new players with 2 epic champions. Okay, this video...
Alright. So, definitely a little complicated, but I think I guess so that this isn't this is like, you know, this is a simulation. Does that mean Coralie in like the few videos ago when she got stabbed, like she didn't really get stabbed, like the real Coralie's still alive. Maybe that was just her like data or something, or her avatar in the thing. I don't know, but interesting. I could see the argument of like, you know, like why this doesn't matter, like how people could be you know, arguing about it. I think the way it's done is pretty good. You know, it was the comparison to the Elysian realm. That's definitely a good example of why this does matter. But I could see how some people may not like a simulation type of thing. But I'm glad to learn a little bit more about it, a little bit more about how things going on. The Dreamseeker, that was a little trippy. I think I got it now. Yeah, it's like it was they're like a person or data thing that was supposed to be an avatar for Layla, and that was why that was her like true form, quote unquote. And then Layla might be looking for the real Ciadina. But yeah, we'll see what happens next, or see later, and what other stuff gets revealed. There's actually going to be the next video. We're going to start with a Homu Labs video about the Honkai x Honkai collab, the Star Rail and Impact 3rd collab, which is cool to learn more about that. But for now, guys, that's gonna do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like or dislike, subscribe or don't subscribe. No, it's always up to you. I will see you guys in the next video you watch from me. Goodbye.